M3.
Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast,
M3.
the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners
M3.
to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4.
M3.
Hey everybody, this is Shaun V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Network. And man, I got a special treat for you today. We've got two of the automotive industry's subject matter experts, superstars, and we're bringing them back. Okay, so we got my man Greg Gifford and Shaun Raines. What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
What's going on, man?
Good,
The beard
how are
and the
you?
hair back together.
That's right. The beard and the hair back together. I remember when you guys were doing your thing at Dealer Run, you had a really popular, show that you guys were doing and just helping dealers with information. So let's start right there. So Shaun, what would you say is your superpower in the automotive industry? What are you extremely good at and I guess skilled at?
That's a great question. Nowadays, I don't work with dealers as much anymore, but I think it's always been a mixture of digital marketing skills. For a long time, you referenced the Dealer On era. I think a lot of people that got to know me then would say it was on the paid media side of the house, especially Google Ads, really from the time that Google launched AdWords back in, October 2000. I was kind of all over that part of the game. But it really kind of carries across the whole spectrum of digital marketing. But that's probably what most people think of me as in terms of a superpower, I guess. I don't like to be limited by that, but that's probably the one most people are familiar with.
No, I respect it. And then, Greg, obviously you are a search engine optimization expert, but it goes farther than that. You too are digital, where it's SEM, pay-per-click, it's, Facebook ads, et cetera. But for this first part of the conversation, I want to kind of piggyback on this. This is kind of cool. So I'm going to start with Shaun on the paid side, but then I want to go to Greg on the organic side of things. So Shaun, let's go back into your wheelhouse, of expertise. Even though you don't work with dealers, you're still a subject matter expert. How would you say the landscape for Google AdWords and just, pay-per-click marketing, how do you think that's changed? Now we're going into we're in 2023, going to 2024. How has the landscape changed for our industry?
Yeah, there's a similarity to, when we went through the cash for clunkers era. There's a similarity to inventory shortages and what we've gone through in the last 3 years. Dealers are, unfortunately, it's kind of that, put your hands up and like, now what should we be doing with all the paid media, whether it's through Google's ad platform, Facebook. And one of the biggest differences is so many dealers pulled back significantly in their budgets, which they should have done because they didn't have new cars, and that's where they would put most of their budget would go into new car campaigns. So what I would tell dealers, and the thing that I have told a lot of dealers that are friends that I still talk to, and they're like, well, what would you do for you or us? I would still be doing this, and I would just be running much more intelligent campaigns, ones that actually highlight the fact that people are changing up their game on used vehicle acquisition from private sellers. That's become huge. You can add that type of tool to your website easily, but you should be doing paid search campaigns to support that. You should be doing paid search campaigns that support pulling in more trade-ins. You should be doing paid search campaigns that actually lift up fix stops, right? Not just the service department, by the way. Do some stuff in parts. There's a lot of things you can be doing now with paid search that dealers weren't doing even 3 years ago, let alone 5 or 10. But the last three, pandemic plus supply and demand inventory issues, I tell every single dealer, be very careful what you spend on new and used campaigns. Not that you shouldn't do any spend there, but you should diversify into fixed stops and some of the things that actually juice the conversion rate of your website, meaning push some of that paid traffic to help the kinds of stuff that Greg does on the organic side, getting them into those places onto the site where they convert. A trade-in lead actually usually converts, I think, somewhere over a 40% clip for most of the great trade-in tools. And if you can use that as a place to harvest a lot of leads, you might actually find that you're harvesting a first-party lead for a few bucks and closing it at a higher percentage than you would get from a true third-party lead generator source. Not that those are bad; it's just part of the game. So anyway, long answer, but I would say diversify the way you're using paid search, and you'll still find success.
No, I appreciate that. So Greg, I want to play devil's advocate here because there's a lot of dealers out there that don't have the proper strategy. And so what they do, in my opinion, Shaun Raines' opinion, not your guys' opinion, but let's see what you guys think. It's like paying $100 for ketchup and only $10 for the steak, meaning is that they drown their website with PPC and not intelligent either. Like what Shaun was just alluding to, it's just new used cars. They're not diversifying, but they're just buying it because for the sake of buying it, because they say, oh, I got co-op dollars to spend, or because this hot person came into the dealership and told me I need it, or whatever dumbass thing.
Or because my competitors are doing it.
There you go. So what I want your opinion is, because you are obviously a search expert, is what is the proper strategy that a dealer should engage in, organic versus paid? Is like, let's say they have X amount of dollars in their budget. What percentage of money and time should they allocate towards an organic strategy versus energy and money, for a paid strategy? What would you say?
So the problem with the answer to that question is there is no answer to that question. It really does depend on each individual dealership, because every dealership is unique, every market is unique, and there is no way to say, all right, cool, no matter what your budget is, you should drop 60% on paid search and 40% on SEO, or vice versa, or whatever. Some dealerships, like you said, have co-op money to spend, some don't. There's a lot of dealerships that only use OEM approved vendors through Shift Digital or FCA or whatever it might be. They're using those vendors because they get co-op dollars and they just think, oh, it's free money, yet they get totally crap work. While a lot of other dealers are like, I don't care if I can't co-op the $50,000 a month that I spend on Google Ads, because I'm doing it with a vendor that actually knows how to do it the right way, and it's not wasted money. Some people don't really need SEO. If you're the only Ford dealer for 250 miles in any direction, and there's 2 other used car dealers in your small town, you probably don't need to do SEO because you're the clear winner. But then you've got a lot of other places, like there's 24 dealerships in the Dallas market, and most of them are using the same vendor for SEO. That's completely asinine. You have to think about, is the juice worth the squeeze? What are you getting for the money that you're putting in? And I'm speaking at an event. I actually leave tomorrow to Flats, California to speak at the Northern California Toyota dealer meeting. And I ran my scoring matrix, my mini SEO audit on all 58 dealerships there, and the scores were abysmal. And I could tell, one of the questions I asked later was, hey, go back and ask everybody if they're doing SEO in-house, or if they're using a vendor, or if they're not doing it at all. I was 90% correct on my guess on what category the dealers fell in just by looking at their websites. And there was a group of dealers that was using one particular SEO vendor, and every single dealer in that, not the same dealer group, but that kind of collection of dealerships, every single dealership had the same blog post. Like literally that vendor was posting the same blog post on 600 different dealership websites, and those dealers are paying for that, and it's ridiculous. So what you really have to do is find a vendor that's not going to do cookie cutter SEO and PPC. They're not going to follow a checklist, and they're going to actually customize what they're doing based on the business goals of your dealership and the money that you have to spend, because your vendor partner should be the best steward of the money that you have to spend. They shouldn't just be collecting that paycheck and knowing that you're going to keep paying it because it's co-op dollars. They should be trying to get you the best bang for the buck. So sometimes that means a lot of PPC and a little bit of SEO. Sometimes it means a lot of SEO and not much paid search. Sometimes it's half and half. It completely depends on the particular situation.
Hey, folks, in case you didn't know, there are training modules with both Greg Gifford and Shaun Raines in Bradley On Demand. Bradley On Demand covers digital marketing, SEO, SEM, ad budgets, and even service BDC. For a free digital marketing audit, including website and SEO, text the word audit to 267-551-6279. Again, text the word audit, and one of us will do that for you for free. Okay, back to the show.
All right, guys, I got a very, very serious question to ask you, two qualified subject matter experts. Okay, so give me a couple moments to kind of get this out, and then I want your opinion on this. Dealer Synergy, we do a lot of marketing assessments and marketing audits. What we do is we evaluate how much money a dealer's spending on their digital spend and where they're spending it and what they're getting. And this is one of my favorite things to do. I don't know why most dealers are not doing this. Greg, you're going to know what I'm, because I just talked to you about this last week. Okay. But for Shaun, I'll give you an example. What I'm finding right now is a travesty across the industry right now. Every dealer listening to this, here's what I want you to do. I want you to identify how much money you're spending on your website. Problem number one is they're probably bundle packaging you, which means if you're dealing with whatever vendor, XYZ website vendor, they're going to charge you for the base website, possibly an SEO package, possibly a SEM management fee, your SEM management budget. But if you get all that in one lump, let's just say that's $3-4 grand, whatever it is. Okay, what I want you to do is try to decipher the BS and identify what is for the core website, what is for the SEO, what is for management, break it down, itemize it. Next thing is identify every dollar you're spending to drive traffic to the website. Let's start with the APIs, trade-in tools, digital marketing, chat, soft credit pulls that charge, the dealership, anything that's going to be an API that drives traffic to the website. Then your PPC ad budget, your PPC management fee, all of your Facebook, Instagram, social media ads, and your social media management fee. In essence, every single thing that you're spending money on your website or to drive traffic to your website. Here's what I want you to do. All I want you to do is analyze how many leads were generated off of your website. And guys, what I'm finding across the board, the average, and I'm going to source to you an NCM 20 group too. The average that we're auditing is anywhere from $190 to literally $300 per lead, not per sale, per lead. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I can't tell you which NCM one for privacy reasons. I just spoke at an NCM 20 group not too long ago, a very, very high level respected one. And they did the same thing. And their audit was $400 to $500 per lead. I've got a dealer that's in the area that one of these guys is in right now that Greg knows I'm talking about. They're spending $55,000 on their website and traffic to their website to generate 126 leads. I swear to God. Greg, right or wrong, you talk to him.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's the thing is, though, what you're telling people to do, most dealers don't do. They just assume, I got to spend money on my site. I got to spend money on SEO. I got to spend money on paid search. And because in a lot of cases, a significant portion of that is co-op, they're not really doing the math to see, hey, I'm spending all this money. Is it actually working for me or not? And that's the key bit. You have to think about what's the value of what you're doing. That's the whole thing I'm talking about on Thursday when I go to this thing in California to talk to all the Toyota dealers, is you got to take your dealership blinders off. You're on your website all the time. Dude, one of these sites, their About Us submenu had 165 links in it. You had to scroll down 4 times in a separate scroll bar just for that submenu to see all the stuff in there. Like, they shouldn't even have 165 pages of content on their site, and they've got 165 pages just under their About Us submenu. And they're thinking about SEO, because it's all this ridiculous, like, SEO tactics from 20 years ago. But they're not thinking, oh, is this vendor doing me right? They're thinking, look at all this stuff my vendor's doing. But they're not taking the blinders off and saying, somebody hasn't bought a car in 5 years and they're coming to my website. What's that experience like? And that's the key.
Shaun, what are you thinking when you heard me just say that? When you add up all the costs of the website and then it's averaging $300, $400 per lead driving traffic to your own website. Is that crazy?
Yeah, it's astonishing. I'm not surprised that you would think to do that. And I say this because you and I have known each other since, I think, the Pine Belt or Pine Tree or whatever days, car wash leads, right? You drove a hard bargain, my friend, but I'm glad that we've maintained a friendship. But, back then, just 1 to 10 leads is this much, and 11 to 20, and they were insane prices then. The reason why I say that is because I always think of you as one of the pioneers too. Like, you've been in it since it started. When the dam broke, we were literally standing in the river, like, how do we handle all this? And so for you to think, let me go back and do something like this as a process to uncomplicate, but basically turn on the lights for the dealer to see what's really happening, it speaks to something that only people that have been in this since the late 90s understand. Lead volumes in the very beginning were precious, and we charged a ransom for them. And then it got to the point where, like, well, that's not the way we want to scale this. And all of a sudden it became well, can you drive a $10 cost per lead? Because all of the third-party tools were like, well, we can sling even a higher volume than the dealers might be able to keep up with. And then for years, I don't know how many years, but everyone was pretty satisfied with a lead that could come from, I'm not going to name any of them because I have nothing against them all. They do their business, and this is not the reason for this podcast. We all know who these companies are. They've been around for a long time. For many years, if you could get a $20 to $30, maybe even a $35 cost per lead, you were so delighted. You were so happy, and that was workable. And then you got to people who could do white glove, boutique, paid search, one-to-one, and they were getting really good at driving a similar and then a lower cost per lead. So instead of chasing volume or impressions, which aren't achievements, they were chasing actual conversions that could be proven to the dealer. Hey, that's still the best way to try to do paid search, by the way. More difficult these days. But yeah, when you said that, that's astonishing, but it's a really smart way to help a dealer understand where the overspend is happening and where they need to make corrections. Sometimes that's a full cut, literally just slit the throat and be done with it. And then in other cases, it's not a revolution change, it's an evolution, meaning we could actually keep this, retain this vendor, this supplier, but we may need to have a more intelligent conversation about what's going on. Most of those vendors will have no clue when the dealer wakes up to what you're teaching them, and they say, your service is primarily meant to drive leads for us, right? More sales opportunities. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, have you ever considered what that might be costing us? Because we don't want to pay an average of $300 for one at bat. That we can do that all day long with these companies that have been doing it with our inventory for years and years and years. And if I can, I want to share a real quick story from Digital Dealer in Tampa just this year. They had asked me to do a 90-minute on marketing plan, like how to build a marketing plan for a dealership. I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And there was one part of that session in my room where I asked one dealer, just would one dealer raise their hand and share their average cost per lead from, and I named one of probably the most popular third-party vendor out there ever. And a dealer said, yeah, I'll share. And she basically said, it's not quite $330 per lead, but it's real close. And I was like, well, okay. I'm not totally going to fall down shocked because I was expecting you to give me a really high number. And then I contrasted that with a dealer who's using a popular, we all know them, but using a popular trade-in tool that is an easy add-on that I think is an average of about $450 a month to the dealer. And I asked that particular supplier, that trade tool, I said, hey, man, I've known you for years. Will you do me a favor and have your team pull your top 25 performing dealers based on lead volume? And I want to know if they all pay about $450 a month for your tool. So he did that. They were all about $450 a tool. His top 25 dealers, not a single one of them is paying more than $3 and change per lead generated on the website. And every single one of them is closing those leads at over 40%, which annihilates every other third party. So the fact that you're thinking that, I get it, because I just took a little slice of that in this Digital Dealer presentation. And I'm guessing, now I want to kind of ask you a question. When you're walking dealers through this, are they catching what are they picking up what you're laying down? And then if they do understand it, are they not responding with, oh my goodness, you're going to help us save a whole lot of money and tune up our results closer to where they really should be?
Some do, most don't. This is the thing that blows my mind. I got even better, and I'll even mention this right here. I'm a big fan of third-party providers because after these people have been in this business for 20, 25 years, they're not pirates. If you're having problems with new car providers like TrueCar, Cars Direct, or AutoWeb, those are the only 3 new car providers left, by the way. There's the only ones. Everybody else is an online classified or an aggregator or et cetera. Then most likely it's not those 3 companies. It's your people, your process, your CRM or something, because these are mega companies. And what do you expect for $15 or $20? Guys, I'm not doing a commercial for AutoWeb, but last month in July, they had a special $19 per new car lead and $10 for used car lead. And I don't got a reseller agreement. I'm being honest with you right here. I'm just saying that, again, what happens is dealers, for whatever reason, are believing the BS because, like Greg said, other dealers are on AutoTrader, other dealers are on Car Gurus. I've got to be on this. Even though we show them the black and white details, they're slow to make the change because of fear or whatever craziness that's there. I'm going to tell you this for if you guys, and this is, jump in if I'm wrong here. The online classifieds have a built-in rebuttal mechanism because when I audit, put names, AutoTrader, Cars.com, Car Gurus, again, believe it or not, my policy, guys, any one of my clients will tell you is I 100% do not try to destabilize any vendor, even ones I despise like Car Gurus. I don't do it because it's not the right thing for the dealer unless they're not performing and they don't want to participate. So here's what happens. I say dealers, like Maslow, right? From the hierarchy of needs, starts with oxygen, water, etc. But then the last one is self-actualization and feeling loved. And I always joke around and say, look, if you're a starving Ethiopian, you don't give a shit if people love you or like you. You need water and you need oxygen. So the hierarchy of needs in lead generation is not VDPs, SRPs, or site hits or views. The immediate gratification, especially for a small to mid-sized dealer, are actionable prospects that you could call or email back. And then the initial rebuttal that these companies say, the online classifieds, we're not a lead source provider. You're spending $6,000, $7,000 a month. And yes, we only generated you 30 leads, but we're not a lead source provider. We're an online classified. We give you phone ups. We give you email leads. We give you site links. We give you MapQuest things, and we give you VDPs and SRPs. And then I'm saying something like, listen, guys, I understand all that, but that doesn't matter. Dr. Covey said from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, put first things first. Be careful of distractions disguised opportunities. I'm not discounting views, hits, VDPs, SRPs, but they're nowhere near as valuable as an actionable lead you can engage first. Now, you guys are my subject matter experts. Do you agree with that logic?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. I'll give a short answer on this one. Greg, I'll let you go. I tell dealers a lot, and I have been doing for many years now, depending on where you're located, it may take you a long time to feel the love of what Greg Gifford's expertise can do or Shaun Raines' expertise can do. But it may take you literally a matter of 24 hours or less to find out the gratification of AutoTrader in your market, or Cars.com, or Cars Direct, or right. So I tell dealers all the time, you got to really know how the game is played, right? Shaun, this is probably one of your lines that you've used at Internet Sales 20 groups before. It's like, don't hate the player, hate the game. If you don't understand the game, you're going to lose a lot, and it's not small potatoes. So I tell dealers in larger markets, oftentimes the third-party sources become the perfect supplementation, right? You absolutely, Gifford and I, Beard and Harris said this, we started saying it at Dealer On. Search is the tip of the spear. When you're trying to be found, right, you got to own it. Search is the tip of the spear. It's not display ads. It's not geo-fencing. It's none of that other stuff. It's not Facebook ads. Not that those are bad things, but unless you know how to put all of these different options, channels, sources into their right place, you will burn through tons of money. And so anyway, I'm glad you actually mentioned some of the third parties. Now I feel free that I can say it. But yeah, I think supplementation is really good for dealers in big markets, but some dealers that are not in big markets, the first thing they should do is instant gratification, which might just be a Cars.com lead or a TrueCar lead or a whatever the source is.
Hey, Millionaire Car Salesman listeners, did you realize we've got training modules featuring both the brilliant Greg Gifford and the insightful Shaun Raines on Bradley On Demand? I'm telling you, Bradley On Demand is the best training, tracking, testing, certification platform in the entire automotive industry. We dive deep into digital marketing, SEO, SEM ad budgets, and even modules on service BDC. Want a game changer? Get a complimentary digital marketing audit, which includes a website and SEO review. All you've got to do is text the word audit to 267-551-6279. Do it now, and we'll handle the rest absolutely free. Now, let's get back to our program.
But Shaun, before you jump in on there, this is what I would say. Let's take car sales. Okay, we're all good car people here. When you first start selling cars, if you don't have a book of business, you just got into the industry, you've got to live off of the land. You've got to take phone ups, internet ups, walk-in ups. But any good car person will tell you the keys to long-term success, profitability, and work-life balance is living off of repeat customers and referrals. And eventually, not the most high-level people I met that sell 50, 60, 80, 100 plus cars a month, they don't take freaking fresh ups. They have a book of business and have a referral mechanism that's phenomenal. So to your point, your analogy, Shaun, real SEO isn't instant gratification. Besides, it takes a certain amount of time before, the site propagates and fully indexes and all that other shit. And with all the changes whatsoever, I think that there needs to be a holistic strategy. So at first, or in desperate times, you might need to leverage more or a lot of third-party providers, online classifieds, etc. They're like an adrenaline shot, in my opinion, until you have a master, somebody that's a boutique SEO, SEM, expert that can help you build out that custom strategy and that custom process. And as that juice is kicking in, and those campaigns like Shaun was talking about for fixed stops, like Greg was talking about for the organic and the paid, as all that starts to marinate, you have two options. You could start weaning down some of the third-party aggregators, the third-party online classifieds, third-party lead source providers, and spend more and more organic, or you could be a glutton and take it all. Have both of best of both worlds. I mean, why the hell not? If you have the right amount of staff, process, and CRM set up, why not have as much market domination as you can? Greg, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's all about, you've got to be in front of the potential customer wherever that potential customer is going to be. But the thing that most people get wrong is they're thinking website VDP. They're thinking service appointment form. They're thinking trade-in form. They're thinking Auto Trader, Cars.com, Car Gurus. None of that stuff matters until you're already halfway through or more through that buying funnel. Nobody's thinking about mid to upper to pre-funnel visibility. And the latest research from Google that came out like a year ago said that people on average, before submitting a lead, whether they're calling, texting, filling out a form, emailing, or showing up at the dealership, before someone becomes a lead in automotive, they conduct 27 separate sessions of research. So that's 27 different times that they're sitting down doing something online before they submit a lead. So if you're only thinking VDPs and you're only thinking blog posts that are about the specific features of a vehicle, and you're only thinking about Auto Trader and cars and Car Gurus and PPC and all these things, that's all extreme bottom of the funnel. You're not thinking about, I need to do some stuff that gets me to show up for people before they're looking to buy a car, or before they're deciding if they want to buy a Toyota or a Ford or a Chevy or a whatever. You got to create content across the entire gamut, because again, it's all about maximizing your chances of capturing somebody's attention. And the sooner you capture somebody's attention, the more likely it is that you're going to have a chance to convert that person into a lead when they are ready to buy parts or book service or buy a car.
So with that being said, this is a perfect transition point here, is talk to me about this Ignition conference, because a lot of dealers don't have this subject matter expertise, and they're being told this from this vendor, from their OEM, and there's a lot of confusion. And that's what I'm understanding your event is about. Your event, but I want to hear from your words, is to filter through the noise, get all the vendor BS and the OEM spin out of it, and get the information from the people that have it, the subject matter experts, and give it to the people that need it, which are the dealers. So Greg, can you start? And then Shaun, I'd like to hear from you. What is the vision of the Ignition conference? When and where is it? Why is it? And why should dealers attend?
So it's just about a month from now. It's Monday, the 28th of August in Dallas. And I've been in automotive forever. I've been speaking at conferences for 15 years in automotive. And increasingly, you hear complaints from dealers that the conferences just aren't valuable anymore. You have to spend so much money. It's $1,400 to get to just a ticket to the event. And then you got to fly in and you're missing a week of work. And then you go in and you're doing parkour to avoid all of the vendors that have these hungry sales guys that are just trying to get you to stop and talk to them for 5 seconds so they can scan your badge and then email you 5 times a day for the next 3 years. And then you go to the sessions, and the sessions are basically just a bunch of thinly veiled sales pitches or some really high level stuff of like, hey guys, do SEO, it's important, yay. And so nobody's really getting value out of these conferences. And so we wanted to do things differently. So the entire conference is built around dealership education and value for those dealers. It's a one-day conference. It's on a Monday, so the dealers can fly in on a Sunday and then fly home Monday night, only miss a day of work. It's only $350 for a ticket because we're not trying to throw this big, massive conference. It's just about education. So we just need a space to teach. We've got invited speakers, so nobody was able to pitch this event. We reached out and hand selected speakers that are at the top of the game. The best speakers that no matter what automotive conference you go to, these are the speakers that you want to go see. It's me, it's Shaun, it's Bobby Heron, it's Jennifer Briggs, it's Subi Ghosh, it's George Ninney, it's all these top experts sharing a lot of different information. Yeah, there's a post right there that just went up at some point recently. I don't know. Eliana's not only speaking, Eliana's our MC for the whole event. So it's just like the best of the best, and everybody is bringing super advanced level content. So it's none of this basic stuff. It is all really advanced tips. Everybody gets a full 45 minutes. So it's just really tailored towards providing the best educational experience that you can get if you want to learn how to be better at marketing and running your dealership.
Okay, so marketing. So can you go over like the subjects again? Like,
yeah. So
what are they going to learn from? Let's say you first, and then Shaun, your session, and then go back to the other people what they're speaking about.
So I'm talking about advanced SEO tips. We've got somebody talking about pay-per-click tips that will work for dealerships regardless of the size of their budget. Bobby Heron is doing a really awesome session about using AI tools to enhance your dealership. So helping the BDC, helping the sales team, helping collaboration between departments. Jennifer Briggs is doing 5 tips to help tweak your used car department and make it recession proof. Shaun is doing I'll let Shaun talk about his in a second, but his is going to be cool. George Ninney's talking about Google Analytics 4 because now we're a month into using Google Analytics 4 and everybody's frustrated. So he's going to be talking about that. Eliana's talking about how everybody's websites typically suck, like we've been talking about earlier, and how you can do some things to make your website work more like a human salesperson and build rapport with people and ask the right questions to help convert better. Subi Ghosh is talking about the power of first-party data, and now everybody's rushing off to all these third parties, and everybody's ignoring the fact that you've got all of this first-party data that you can use to reach people that you previously couldn't reach. So it's going to be a stellar lineup, and the other cool thing about it is this is the first conference ever in automotive with an equal split between men and women speakers. And it's far past time for that to happen because there's a ton of brilliant women in automotive. So it doesn't make sense that most of the conferences just have a bunch of dudes up there speaking.
Absolutely. So Shaun, what is your session going to be about? And then what can dealers learn from it?
Well, I'm glad to be a dude because I've been speaking at conferences for a long time, I guess, just because I'm a dude. No, just kidding. I think it's great, obviously, that they're doing something that's small and compact. When Greg reached out and said, hey, would like you to speak, it's close when I'm home. I'm on my midlife crisis adventure with my wife right now, but we'll be home in more than enough time. I am actually doing a Blink-182 theme. It's called All the Small Things. And this is going to be a fast and furious 45 minutes where I am going to help the dealers literally walk out of the room being able to go back to their dealership and do a mini marketing plan that will take a little bit of the stuff that I talked about in Tampa to make it a little bit compact. But there's going to be some very specific points of emphasis around vehicle acquisition, service merchandising, and parts, especially on the e-commerce side of parts, things that they can be doing Shaun, just before we met each other, I was still in the service side of the auto industry. And a lot of people didn't know that. I'd worked for a parts warehouse for like 10 years, but I came out of that, worked for one of my customers who put me through a whole bunch of training, including service writer training, and I became a certified service writer in the state of Washington before I got into all the digital stuff. So the last couple of years, I've had invitations to speak on some fix op stuff, and so that's very much going into my session. Some things that I think dealers will find really helpful, and I don't think that they think about enough in terms of who makes the strongest impressions on your customers, who takes more phone calls, right? Your service advisors have far more to do with the loyalty of your business, and I will also spike the ball in my presentation all around the fact that we are talking about customer experience all the time relative to sales, and we're not talking about it enough relative to service. And if you lose somebody in the service department, you probably lose them forever. They will probably forgive you, maybe even more than once, if you get a bad sales experience, because maybe that salesperson, you don't have to deal with them next time. If you love the brand, you'll probably go back. But I have about 3 different specific true stories, a couple of them from my own family. My sister just told me one a week and a half ago. A lifelong Honda customer, and I mean lifelong, and they lost her forever. She's now a Lexus, like hardcore, and it was all the service capture. And if you think that retention, brand affection isn't important from the OEM all the way down to the dealer, think again, it is. So I'm blending all of that into all the small things, and they're the things that I just don't think dealers think about enough, but they've become monumental in terms of profitability, not just keeping the lights on, literally pouring the gas on your dealership so that you can make it through the lean times no matter what they are. And I'm really excited. I haven't done a thematic presentation in a while, so it'll be fun to do a little Blink-182 theme in it as well.
Well, I'm loving what I'm hearing, guys. And Shaun, for you, again, I'm a big proponent, obviously, of NADA. And NADA says that, fixed operations is supposed to be, 60%, a little bit over of the dealership's overall profits. As a matter of fact, fixed operations is supposed to take care of every one of the expenses in the dealership. And the variable operations, the sales revenue should be all the gravy and all the profit. But a lot of times dealers are not versed, on the fixed side of things. And what's really bad, because we're all digital people, internet directors, BDC directors are not versed in this. And I don't know if you know, but Dealer Synergy, we've been building service BDCs for a long time. And my gosh, they are extremely profitable, extremely powerful. You alluded to how important retention is. NADA says that a service customer is 7 times as likely to purchase a vehicle for when they service the car from. And most dealerships do not take advantage of all of these service opportunities through data mining, equity mining, or even just showing up and having conversations in the service drive. They don't know how to build relationships with the service writers. Dealers don't know how to properly spiff or incentivize service writers to bird dog opportunities. And there's a whole other classification of ups that dealers don't even realize. It's called unsold service customers. Every dealership has a portion of their service business that nobody's ever purchased a vehicle from. And so this is something that's completely neglected, and it's part of the culture. So Shaun, I hope that you're hitting on this, because you remember the old Badger commercials from Johnson Automotive? Just look at my... I sell cars, I don't service them. For whatever, there's a disconnect that salespeople don't understand. Let's use internet leads. One of the things that I think is imperative is that if you are following with a prospect and they decide to buy elsewhere, instead of getting pissed off that you lost somebody, redirect that lost opportunity to service for the service RO revenue and to amplify the probability of them purchasing next time around. So I love this. I got a question for you, Shaun, real quick. This is Shaun Bradley wants to know. This is a real question. It's not a podcast question. I want to know. I have a client that we're just building a big service BDC for, and they had a question about service BDC manager's pay plan. I've got my own, but with your background, I didn't realize that you were a service writer or anything like that before. That's awesome. How do you recommend that a service BDC manager or service BDC director gets paid? Do you have any suggestions?
This would just be a wild ass guess, right? It's a wag, because I haven't been in the throes of coming up with pay plans for people, but I'll answer it this way. If I was going to go back and take a service writer job, and I was going to get to compete against at least 1 or 2 others in the department, maybe it's a big store and there's several, I love to compete. and I'm kind of I like to be a good sport about it, but I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna figure it out. So I would probably be negotiating, depending on where I am in the country. I'm probably going to be negotiating for a fair base, right, based on my experience, where I've come from. If I'm brand new, it's probably going to be, you got to prove yourself a little bit there. You're going to get some pay increases on your base based on your experience and how much you're improving, right? Not just lines per RO, right? Value per RO. Those are all things that I'm going to want to be evaluated on. So when all of a sudden they're looking at me and they're like, gosh, man, Raines is like, he's swinging so many extra timing belts when we're doing water pump jobs, but listen to how clean he is and explaining to the customer, it's not because your water pump's breaking, it's because we have to take your timing belt off to replace your water pump, so why not just put a brand new one on? And Raines is getting an extra $75 every time. Those are the little things that a good service writer can use to negotiate a fair base and then a variable plan based on that. And if it were me, I'd want a quarterly based variable plan. Because, service and sales, we all know this in our industry, there's a little bit of that. And I would want personally to be able to plan for when I know it's a little bit leaner. And you know what? I've never heard anybody say this, but I'm also the kind of guy that in 2023 or 2024, I'd probably say, is there anything the dealership could do for me if I worked closely with the sales department to actually put them in contact with Raines when he comes in to have his Tundra service? Because he's not driving the new generation. I'm still in a 2019, which I love. Only have 45,000 miles on my 2019. But I would be the guy that says, hey, I want to put Raines, when he comes in for that service, I want to send him to lunch in one of the brand new 2023s. And if I make that connection, then I want the dealership to recognize and spiff me on that. I want a little mini, or I want something out of that deal as well. That's probably how it's, so it's not specific numbers, but you probably get an idea of how I would negotiate a pay plan for a service writer.
Hey, folks, listen, if you have questions about SEO or SEM, if you have questions about digital marketing, if you have questions about your website or service BDC, or even just your ad budget, reach out to us. We can and will help at no charge. We're just tired of folks not knowing that they're being taken advantage of. We'd like to empower you with knowledge. So as I said earlier, just text the word audit to 267-551-6279. That is L.A. Williams' personal cell phone. He'll get you set up with one of us ASAP. Okay, here's the rest of the show.
I love it. I don't disagree with anything. The only thing I would add is each service BDC is set up differently. Some of the things that are important for service BDCs is just service scheduling. Setting the service appointment is one. Second is the service CSI after the RO clears, being able to call back and try to prompt to get, the positive review, the positive CSI. Another one is warranty work. You know what I mean? Another thing might be ROs that are declined, because when the service writer does their job, they might have come in for a tire rotation or oil change or a scheduled service, but they're going to find this, and this. And sometimes the prospect doesn't take everything. So that's an opportunity for them to upsell. And then obviously, parts, orders, and so on. I guess the thing that a dealer has to do is figure out what their service BDC is going to actually do. What are the components? And then reverse engineer into it. If part of your service BDC is declined ROs, trying to get those to get fulfilled, obviously the more declined ROs that you convert, you should get compensated on. If it's just scheduling service appointments, it's going to be actual number of service appointments scheduled versus service appointments that actually show. So I would say that it's like anything else. It's a performance-based environment. Reverse engineer what you want the department to do, and then benchmark those and reverse engineer a pay plan. Greg, question for you before we start to wind, because I know you guys are really busy, got a lot of stuff going on. How does somebody get more information about the Ignition conference? Where do they go to buy tickets, and who could they reach out to if they have any questions?
So they can reach out to me if they've got any questions. My email is super simple. It's just greg@searchlabdigital.com. Happy to answer any questions people have. Also, there is a website. It is ignitionautomotiveconference.com. Super easy to get to, has all the info on the site about the event, has the full schedule with a description of each of the talks. There's even a page on the site that is a page that's like, hey, if you need help convincing your boss at the dealership to send you to this event, here's all the main points of like, hey, Southwest and American Airlines are both based in Dallas, so there's lots of cheap flight options that are super easy. You're only missing a day of work. It's only $350. All that stuff is all on the site. And you can buy tickets on the site, and there is a discount code that we set up for the Millionaire Car Salesman group. You can use, I did it two ways. You can either use the word millionaire as a promo code, or you can use MCS. So MCS, Millionaire Car Salesman. Either one of those codes will get you $100 off a ticket. So that means anybody listening to this or watching this live right now can go to ignitionautomotiveconference.com, use one of those two codes, and get a ticket for only $250 to this event. So it's a pretty killer deal.
And let me just say this, guys, right now, I'm actually attending. I'm not even speaking. And you guys know I speak all over the place. I'm going purely to learn, because as a high-level consultant and trainer, I am learning always what is the trends of the industry, what are the problems the dealers have, what are the subject matter experts saying. So sometimes you have to just shut up and listen and not always be talking. So again, if I'm getting my ass on an airplane just to attend, you got to ask yourself why, because there's value. I know these guys. I know every one of those people on the stage, and most of them have spoken at my conferences before. You know, Greg has literally put together a whole crew of true subject matter experts, and what they want to do is give to the audience, give to the attendees just all of their information, and it's not a timeshare pitch. So if I'm gonna spend my time just learning, you gotta, and I'm a high-level consultant. Can you imagine what you could get out of this being on the front lines? I'm telling you, this is definitely something that you want to go see. So guys, thank you for taking the time out of your day to, talk to our listeners in the Millionaire Car Salesman group. And again, the next couple of days is going to go to the podcast and get all the juice out of it. Any last words before we kill the feed?
Last thing too, we're keeping this to about 100 to 120 people because we don't want to blow this out and make this a massive thing, because this is a really special event that's geared more towards just high-level education. It is a limited number of tickets, so if you're listening to this or watching it live right now, and you think it's something you might want to do, you should go grab a ticket soon while you still can.
100%. All right. Thank you, guys.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Shaun V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.